Holy Gospel of our Lord Jesus Christ according to Luke.
Glory to you, Lord Christ.
When they came to the place that is called Episcopal, they crucified Jesus there with criminals, one on his right and one on his left. Then Jesus said, Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing. And they cast lots to divide his clothing. And the people stood by watching Jesus on the cross. But the leaders scoffed at him, saying, He saved others. Let him save himself if he is the Messiah of God, his chosen one. The soldiers also mocked him, coming up and offering him sour wine and saying, If you are the King of the Jews, save yourself. There was also an inscription over him. This is the King of the Jews. One of the criminals who were hanged there kept deriding him and saying, Are you not the Messiah? Save yourself and us. But the other rebuked him, saying, Do not fear, God, since you are under the same sentence of condemnation, and we indeed have been condemned justly, for we are getting what we deserve for our deeds. But this man, he has done nothing wrong. Then he said, Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom. And he replied, Truly I tell you, today you will be with me in paradise. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Christ.
In the name of the Blessed Trinity, one holy and living God. Please be seated. Today I'm going to remind you of the most important story I know. It's a familiar story and yet one of the least understood, and therefore one of the most manipulated. It is the story of the King and the cross. Today is Christ the King Day, and Israel knew a thing or two about kings, or at least they thought they did. They had had significant experience, even though they weren't always governed by kings. They were different from the other nations in that way, intentionally set apart as God's people. But things changed back in the days of Samuel. He was a prophet in charge of the people, but he wasn't going to live forever, and his sons were scoundrels, to put it nicely. So the people begged Samuel for a king. No, Samuel said to them firmly. You don't want that. No good will come of that. But all the other nations have kings, they whined. We want one too. So God gave the people what they asked for. And it worked out for about 5 months. After that, the people discovered that even though a king was what they had wanted, a king could not be for them what they actually needed. A king could not make them whole. A king could not provide them with love, happiness, prosperity, health, or security, and in fact often had the opposite effect. Fortunately for the people, God, as always, was paying attention and gave them a new king, a Lord of righteousness. And this king was not what they were expecting or probably even wanted, but it was what they needed. And the baby was born, destined to be not just the King of the Jews, but King of us all. And not just in that time, but in all times. As Jeremiah foretold, this Christ the King was not like other kings, not even a little bit, and it confused the people. Jesus' ministry was constantly being misunderstood. His teachings and his mighty acts drew people in. He had a constituency. He could have overthrown governments or expelled occupying nations, as a king might do. Indeed, that is what many people wanted him to do. Those with power were wrong in their insecurities. Jesus was a threat. Once, when he fed the 5,000, the crowd hunted him down, not to hurt him, but to crown him. "Be our king, Jesus of Nazareth, save us!" And Jesus said, not like this. Your salvation comes with the cross. It's a peculiar and sad story. The story of the cross, the story of our God suffering with such humiliation and death. And not many people are willing to acknowledge this. Instead, we look at the cross romantically and wear it ornamentally, polished and pretty. But today's gospel reading allows for none of that, though, because we are pulled in and given a front row seat to the execution. Luke, it seems, did not intend for us to attend the crucifixion at a safe and pleasant distance, but rather from a place where we can both personally hear and fully absorb the agonizing dialogue between Jesus and the two other dying men. And this makes today especially challenging. Like I mentioned, we're familiar with the story, of course. It's Good Friday, it's the Passion, it's something we remember, well, sort of remember, but it isn't a celebration. And it certainly isn't the coronation of a king. So what is it exactly that Luke gathered us close to the cross to witness? What are we missing that is worth celebrating? Well, it's easy to overlook, as it happens very quickly, and in between two injustices, two criminal acts, just like Jesus' place between two criminals. Luke brilliantly describes the event to mirror the placement of the crosses. The two bookending actions are Jesus being put up on the cross and the soldiers gambling over his clothing. But something in between those two things happens, and we almost miss it. Smack in the center of an innocent man being put to death, and people both enjoying and profiting from it, right in the middle of the worst of humanity being executed out, there is Jesus, forgiving his executioners. The whole corrupt system, forgiven. Why? Was it deserved? Was it desired? Was it duty? Was it pity? Poor, stupid creatures, they know not what they do. I don't believe it was like that. It was an outpouring of love for our humanity, also known as grace. Forgive them. They know not what they do. And it's okay, I can love them through this. And that's it. That is the crowning moment. That is Christ teaching us what this particular king is about. And most everyone there mocked it, including one of the two men on the cross, being crucified with Jesus. And Luke really wanted us to pay attention to this dialogue between the three men on the cross. He is the only evangelist, the only gospel author to give the other crucified men voice. And I wonder if this isn't because what happens next between them is really the question for us too. The crowd starts jeering and taunting Jesus. Hey, they really knew not what they did. It was like the crowd of 5,000 trying to make Jesus king. The 5,000, the crowd at the skull, the one criminal on the cross. They could not see a salvation beyond their own existence. To them, saving meant avoiding death. To Jesus, it meant reconciliation, the coming together of you and me and we and thee, a relationship as close as the Trinity. This is what Jesus offered us with his forgiveness. The one criminal on the cross didn't understand that, but the other one did. We deserve to die, but this one has done nothing wrong and is dying anyway. Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom. The one criminal recognized Jesus' kinship through the cross. He accepted the grace offered by it. The other criminal was scandalized by the cross and rejected the salvation offered through it. And we are now left trying to figure out what this whole cross thing is going to mean for us right now, today. And I want us to take a moment and seriously reflect on that, because how we understand the cross is how we understand God. And how we understand God completely shapes how we behave in the world. Do we worship a vengeful, bloodthirsty God that requires constant appeasement? After all, somebody has to pay, right? Is that the king we serve? Does that even sound like the Lord of righteousness? But alas, bad theology of the cross rules the day, even still. Jeremiah would weep because we Americans culturally love ourselves an angry God. Angry God keeps us strong against our enemies. Angry God justifies our own violence. And by golly, that's the king we want. We don't want to hear about a God of love, because that will require more of us. That will require us to love too. So here is the hard prophetic message Luke offers us that we must carry out into the world. Jesus didn't die because we are bad. Jesus died because we are loved. And I would even go so far as to say that Jesus didn't die for, as in instead of us. He died with us, graciously, mercifully, lovingly, amongst us sinners. He accepted his humanity and ours, and experienced to the extreme. And in doing so, he didn't end sin and suffering or death. Instead, he ended our silence about them and forever changed our narrative by showing us how to respond to such things in love. That's what the reign of Christ the King is about. And we can either receive that grace, that overwhelming love, and ask to be remembered ourselves, or we can mock it because it wasn't the kind of salvation we were searching for. Those were the two choices that Luke didn't want us to miss out on, and our decision with what to do with that information has immediate consequences. When will God come in? When will God's kingdom come? When will God's will be done? When will we be remembered? When will Jesus come into his kingdom as Christ the King? And Jesus has already answered those questions on the cross. today. Today, God has given us exactly the King we need. Thanks be to God. Amen.
Amen.